Okay, so welcome guys. A very good morning all. So what we have done is till now, see we have completed questions from Parliament. So total there are 25 questions in last 10 years, and then we started with this fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and DPSPs. Altogether, they have got 28 questions in the last 10 years. So out of 28, we are completed with 10 questions. So today, I'm going to complete remaining 10 questions and rest we'll see tomorrow. Okay. So the question for today is, which of the following are regarded as the main feature of rule of law? Okay. So here, he's talking about rule of law. See, in rule of law, it is implemented in our country through Article 14, which means here the rule is by the law, which means law is the king of kings. Law is the king of kings. Okay, so with this knowledge, we'll see the options so that we'll get to know some idea. See, limitation of powers. Which of the following is regarded as main feature of rule of law? One is limitation of powers, and equality before law. For sure it will be, because I mean, see, in our article 14 we'll talk about equality before law and equal protection of law. So equality before law is for sure. Okay, so remove all the option which doesn't has option 2. Okay, next, people's responsibility to government. No, here rule of law is implemented only because here government, okay, so it won't show its discretionary powers. It will work under the law, okay, for the betterment of people. So here people is not responsible for the government under rule of law. Government is responsible for the people by following the law. So this is wrong. So remove all the options which are carrying option 3, and we are left with 2 options. So liberty and civil rights. See, actually what happens here is, with the rule of law, what happens is, will limit the power. With rule of law, will put some limitations on the powers of legislature and executive. See, because legislature cannot come up with arbitrary laws, because we have rule of law here. So when rule of law is here, legislative cannot come with the arbitrary laws, because if something they are coming, then judiciary will enter into the picture. It will make the review with the constitution. If it is in line with the constitution, then it will allow the law to continue. If it is not in line with the constitution, then it will declare it as null and void. So here, your this is correct. Limitation of powers is correct, and obviously equality before law to hui, like for sure it is correct. Okay, and with these things, I mean, by limiting the powers of the government, what we are trying to achieve is, we are trying to provide liberty and civil rights to the citizens, or to the persons who are residing in India. So this is also correct. So your answer is 1, 2 and 4. So your option is option C is your answer. Okay, so this is 11th question. And the 12th question, right to privacy is protected as an intrinsic part of right to life and personal liberty. Which of the following in the Constitution of India correctly, appropriately implies the above statement? See, when we talk about this right to privacy, this is even like this is apt for the current situation as well, because we can see this is an Israeli spyware, Pegasus. Now Indian government using this, it is spying so many people. Okay, so this was in case, and this case is all about government is reading the WhatsApp messages, listening to the calls, and like operating the camera and microphone of the political leaders and main personalities of India. Okay, so this case came into the Supreme Court, okay, and questioning their right to privacy is violating. Okay, so again, right to privacy is quite important here. So what happened is, case Puttaswamy case. In case Puttaswamy case of 2017, Supreme Court in its verdict, it interpreted a right to privacy, a right to privacy is part of right to life and personal liberty. Right to life and personal liberty, which means Article 21. So now with this knowledge, we'll solve this one. Article 14, no, this is talking about rule of law, equality before law, and equal protection of laws. Article 17 and the directive principles. Article 17, it is talking about abolition of untouchability. Article 21, yes, it is talking about right to life, and this is a part of right to privacy, is a part of right to life and personal liberty. So your option is option C. Okay. So which article of the Constitution of India safeguards one's right to marry the person of one's choice? See, again, in 2017 judgment only, okay, in Kerala, there is a Hindu woman. What she has done is, she has converted her religion into Muslim, okay, and she married a Muslim guy, and this generally people will call as love jihad. This was in the case, okay. Now in this case, Supreme Court said, okay, maybe she has converted her religion, but still, you know something, this one's right to marry the person of your choice. If you love someone, if you want to marry him or her, this is your choice, and this is not only your right, this is your fundamental right, and this is part of your Article 21, which is right to life and personal liberty. So this was said by Supreme Court. See, right to life is not merely living. It is not talking about merely living, just like an animal life. It is talking about living with dignity. Okay. In the living with dignity, it will also cover. If you are loving someone, if you want to marry her, then it is your right. Okay. So Article 21 is your answer. So option B. Option B. Next. Which part of the Constitution of India declares the ideal of welfare state? I mean, yesterday also we have discussed this question. So welfare state concept is given in our constitution in DPSPs, Directive Principles of State Policies, which means these are the directions given by the constitution to the state while making policies. While making policies. While making policies. So if state follows these directions while making policies, then our state will become a welfare state. Then our state will become a welfare state. So where people are actually happy. So your answer is Directive Principles of State Policies, and your option is option A. Okay. And the next question is, with reference to the provisions contained in Part 4 of the Constitution of India, which means Directive Principles of State Policies, Part 4, Directive Principles of State Policies, and articles are from 36 to 51. Okay, so we'll see about this. So he's talking about Part 4. So Part 4 is DPSPs. Okay, and articles are from 36 to 51. Articles are from 36 to 51. So in the very first article, it is told about the definition of the state, and in Article 37, they have told that these DPSPs are not enforceable by any court. Okay, so here they shall be enforceable by courts. This is wrong. So remove all the options which contains one, and you are left with two more options. They shall not be enforceable by the court. Yes, Article 37 says this, they are not enforceable by the courts. So this is correct. So we have, I mean, still we have two options. The principles laid down in this part are to influence making of laws by the state. I mean, I have already told you, I mean, see, these are the directions given by the constitution while making policies. So these principles laid down in this part are going to influence making of laws or policies by the state. Yes, this is also correct. So your option is 2 and 3. So which means your answer is D. Your answer is D. Your answer is D. Okay. So the next question is, which one of the following categories of fundamental rights incorporate protection against untouchability as a form of discrimination? See, untouchability, which means abolition of untouchability, is talking about abolition of untouchability. Abolition of untouchability, it is in Article 17. Article 17 is a part of right to equality. Right to equality. So right to equality, we have articles from Article 14 to Article 18. Okay, so actually this is a part of right to equality. So now with this knowledge you can solve this question, which one of the following categories of the fundamental rights incorporate protection against untouchability, which means he's talking about abolition of untouchability. So abolition of untouchability, right to equality. So right to equality is your answer. So your option is option D. Your option is option D. Next, in India, separation of judiciary from the executive is enjoined by, which means he's talking about, see, separation of judiciary from executive is a part of directive principles, preamble, 7th schedule, and the conventional practice. See, actually, in the DPSTs, we have articles from 36 to 51. In this, Article 50 is talking about, it's a liberal intellectual principle. Okay, it is talking about separation of judiciary from executive. So which means directive principles of state policies are talking about separation of judiciary from executive. But why this article? See, let me tell you, when we got the independence, at that time we used to have collector as head of the state. This collector has two main roles. One is to administer the law and order. One is to administer the law and order. Second one, to solve the cases, which means he used to work as a magistrate. See, now you tell me, if a executive is giving justice, then this justice will be compromised by his salary hike, for his job protection. Okay, see, I mean, if let's say a MLA came, or else a MP came. Okay, if MP's son or one of his family member is involved in a criminal case, now this collector, he has to deliver the justice judgment. While delivering the judgment, he will get a call. See, now you are in the urge of your promotion. So if you give their judgment, if not in the favor of my son, then what I'll do is I'll cancel your promotion, or I'll decrease your salary. I'll take you away from your post. these kind of warnings they can give, and obviously executive what he'll do. End of the day, he needs job, he needs promotion, he needs money. Yes. So what happens here is the justice will be compromised. So at that time, actually, we don't have a separate subordinate courts. Slowly with the time, we have developed the subordinate courts, and slowly we have taken this power away from the collector. But at that time, that used to be with the collector. So to take away this power from the collector, we have included this thing in the DPSPs. That, see, we are advising here through the constitution, in future you have to take away this power, magistrate power, from the collector, and now they have taken away. So this is all about the separation of judiciary from the executive. Okay. The next question is, other than the fundamental rights, which of the following parts of the Constitution of India reflects the principles and provisions of Universal Declaration of Human Rights? Okay, so first thing, we have to know something about Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So Universal Declaration of Human Rights, this was adopted by United Nations General Assembly. United Nations General Assembly in 2018. In 2018. So what is this Universal Declaration of Human Rights? So here some rights are given, that here some rights are mentioned that they have to given for every person in their country. Each and every country has to follow. Okay. So those rights are right to life, equality, liberty. Okay. Next, right to education, work, and social security. Social security. And right against exploitation, right to religion, movement, and right against exploitation. So these are the rights that each and every country has to provide their citizens or the persons who are living in their country. Okay. Now see, anyways, in fundamental rights, you'll find all these things. Apart from the fundamental rights, what all parts of your constitution, or what all things of your constitution contains these things? See, see, right to education, deep fundamental duties, Article 51 A clause K, which means 11th fundamental right. It is talking about like, it is the duty of every citizen to provide educational opportunities to your children or what between 6 to 14 years. Okay. So initially it is not there in the fundamental rights. So out of 86th Constitutional Amendment Act in 2002, we came up with this 11th fundamental right. So then, okay, your fundamental duties became this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Okay. And again, see, here he is talking about social security. So social security, which means kind of providing you work. Okay. So this also, it's a part of DPSPs. In the DPSPs, you will talk about to provide work, to provide social security, to provide justice. Okay, all these things you will talk about in the DPSPs. Okay, and in the preamble also you will talk about liberty, equality, and justice. Yes, so even your preamble also contains all these things. So your option D is your answer. So here option D is your answer. Okay. Now the next question, right to privacy, again guys, simple. KS Puttaswamy case. KS Puttaswamy, you cannot remember, you cannot forget this case. Okay. So KS Puttaswamy case of 2017, Supreme Court interpreted that right to privacy is part of fundamental rights under Article 21, which is right to life and personal liberty. And the next question and the last question for the day is, a legislation which confers on the executive or administrative authority an unguided and uncontrolled discretionary power in the matter of application of law violates which one of the following articles of the Constitution? So here is, I mean, the language is tough, but the thing here is a legislation, which means a law, which confers on the execution or administrative authority unguided and uncontrolled discretionary power. See, if this law is giving executive discretionary power, which means he can apply this law according to him, which means he got discretionary power that he can apply this law according to him. Example, you have came up with a law, and this law is enabling collector that you can provide ration cards to whomsoever you feel poor. Then what happens is he'll come up with his relatives. Okay, all the relatives are rich, but still he'll provide them the ration cards because according to him they are poor. Okay, and he got discretionary powers and he's misutilizing these powers. So what happens is this discretionary power is going to create arbitrary actions and unequal treatment. So unequal treatment. Okay, so about equality, which article will be talking? Article 14 is talking about equality. So Article 14, equality before law and equal protection of laws. You cannot give the arbitrary treatment. You cannot give unequal treatment. So the answer is question like option A. So these are the questions for today. I know this question is quite difficult for you because I mean the question as if, I mean, this is not difficult, but the thing here is the language of the question is a bit difficult. See, simple. A legislation means a law which confers, which means which is giving the executive or administrative authority, which means executive or an administrative authority, which means ministers or IAS officers, an unguided and uncontrolled discretionary power. So which is not guiding anything. It is giving discretionary power. You decide from your angle. Okay, then it will be violation of which article? Article 14. Okay, so this is it all for today. I'll meet you guys tomorrow with few more questions. Thanks a lot for watching.